Here we are at Moondarra. What makes up this little community in Moondarra is about a dozen community farms. We've got beef farms. We did have dairy back here. We've basically got organic blueberry farm. We've got vineyards. We had potatoes. We had fruit and veggie around here. But the reason why I'm here is I am the third generation here. In 1959, my grandparents were removed from Browns Road for the Moondarra Dam to go in. And it was built basically for water for Latrobe Valley to go down to their Australian paper mill, but it's also being used for Victorian waterways as in drinking water. And I'm going to expose something that I would like the whole of Victoria, whole of Australia to know what our government systems are doing to some of our waterways at the present moment. Basically, I'm only 50 metres from my boundary property just across there. I'm in Gippsland Waters catchment area. On the 21st of April this year, I was rang and asked that they're going to do some aerial spraying over a adjoining property right next door to me, and the aerial spraying was going to be done with Grunt 750. It's a granulated Grunt chemical that basically wipes out everything bar a pine tree. This Grunt is a absolute devastation to anything such as gum tree, as I'm hanging on to several of them right here, okay? And they use it in the actual forestry area around pine plantations. But I just want to address to people, I'm in a catchment area called the Moondarra Water Catchment Area. And I want to touch on that because I'm the third generation on this farm, and basically my grandparents were brought out in 1959 to remove themselves off a 680 acre dairy farm only 1.5 kilometres across the other side of my farm. They were paid out by the actual government to remove themselves for a water catchment area, okay? They didn't want animals, they didn't want public life, and they didn't want people around a water catchment area. So this property that I'm standing on is Francis's farm. Anyone can actually see that it was originally once upon a time a farm, and then they've grown pine trees in it via the Moondarra Dam. The Moondarra Dam was taken over by Gippsland Water back in the day, and they are doing this in our waterways with Grunt 750. It states in their data sheet not to actually use it on undulating ground more than 20 degrees. Well, I can tell you, anyone who wants to come in here and look at this ground, this is a lot more than 20 degrees undulating, okay? We've got Jacobs Creek just here, only around about 200 metres from where I'm standing. So this is the stuff that they're actually doing to use people in the public. Using fertilisers to get the trees to come up out of the ground in a water catchment area, and then we're going to use poisons to poison our native trees. Our native trees are actually dying because of the poison. These trees are valuable. This is Australian. This. Gum trees, silver top, stringy bark, your white gums, your snow gums, the whole lot. But now I'm going to walk you down the hill only 100 metres, which we're going to be only about 100 metres from your waterways. And I'm going to show you what else you're doing, people. So here I am, only about probably 200 metres, if that, maybe 150 metres from my own farm. And I stumbled across this about a week ago. And it's basically not the only one. There's about half a dozen of them. This sort of stuff has boiled my blood, because I've never ever shot anything unless I use it. A rabbit I eat, a deer I'll eat, but I'll tell you, this is disgusting, because all this matter is leaching down this hill that's well and truly over 25 to 30 degree grade, and it's going straight into the Jacobs Creek and straight into the Moondarra Reservoir for the Latrobe Valley people to drink. I just want to touch on this sign here, poisoning of wild dog control program. The reason why they actually are doing a wild dog program is because they shoot all the feral animals, and they're not just feral. Some of them are deer, some of them are kangaroos, some of them are Australian species, our wallabies, the whole lot. They kill everything off their pine plantations, these people. But this is their next little piece that they actually fix our farming problem up. They start using 1080 for wild dog program. We wouldn't have the wild dogs if they didn't leave the deer, roos, wallabies, all that sort of stuff behind. But they actually shoot them and let them rot into our waterways. But they also put 1080 in their water catchment areas for their wild dog program. So 1 minute they're justifying their pine plantations, they ridicule us as farmers, but now they actually put 1080. And I think we're one of the only countries that still use 1080. 1080 is proven as cancer causing, and wherever the baits are, it does not remove itself out of the ground. So you can go back there 20 years, 15 years, and it's still there, 1080. I can actually take you around my property. They actually put this around my property everywhere for their wild dogs. The thing is, I don't believe in this. It's more poison inside our waterways. 1 minute they're killing animals, and next minute we're poisoning animals. So this is a way that they try and help the farmers. I don't know if it's the right way, because they're poisoning the land now. They're poisoning it where they set the baits. So I just wanted to point this out. This is only 10 metres from my boundary property. You can spin around with the camera and just have a look at my fence line right there. It's only within 10 metres to 15 metres of my farmland. So this is the sort of thing that the government sectors, MPs again, please start to realise what we're doing in our community areas. Because I'm dead set against this sort of stuff. I'd rather get my gun out and shoot the wild dog, which I've been doing for nearly 40 years of running this farm. Here we are, 50 metres on the lamb side of basically Francis's dairy farm. Was a dairy farm back in the 50s before they kicked everyone out of here for the Moondarra Reservoir. The Moondarra Reservoir is water for Latrobe Valley, Gippsland. And I'm 50 metres from where there's a half a dozen to 4 or 5 dead deer carcasses on top of the hill, done by a professional shooter, labelled that they're looking after their pine plantation. Well, they look after their pine plantation with fertilisers put underneath their pines. They also aerial spray with herbicides and poisons that has been basically done across the top of this hill of 300 acres of pine plantations. So we're not just growing pines, we're poisoning the ground as well. They're farming the ground with fertilisers, but we've got a blue and green algae all the way down to Lake Wellington, all the way to the lake's entrance during the summer. Well, I'm going to tell you, ministers, and I'm not going to bag any minister, because we need yous, but yous need to start to stand up for our Victorian wildlife and for what yous are doing to our wildlife and our waterways. And I do believe our Latrobe Valley water is linked to the Tarrago all the way down to Warragul, and they can bring the Tarrago water all the way back to Latrobe Valley. So tell me, if we're doing this sort of thing inside closed doors in your water catchments, what are we trying to do outside on our farms to stop the actual sprays, stop our fertilisers, and stop our cattle getting in the creeks? But yous are doing this sort of thing as a government consortium in our waterways. And all I can say is this water fed dairy cattle 60 years ago, and now yous are feeding with dead animals, herbicides and fertilisers. And that's all I've got to say. It's about time yous all started to get your heads together and start to act, such as the EPA, such as our Victorian wildlife representatives, such as our poisons and sprays, such as our Baw Baw Shire and the Latrobe City Shire. Get together and stop this rot inside our community, because yous people are what are causing our problem with our poisons and our sprays. Look, I'd like to really thank the AIN in conjunction with the AFIPN for basically going out of their way to film this. I'd like to see this go right around Victoria and Australia, because when it all boils down, the MPs of this country are running us, and the MPs need to get onto this, because it's all behind closed doors. And I'm just hoping that you take it all on board, because we need cleaner, greener and better clean water for our community. Thank you very much.